Hi everyone, this is Danny for Cupcakes Gourmet, and today I'm gonna show you how to make the sleepy donut. And it's a long tutorial, so before we start, grab a snack and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the bell button so you can get notifications for new videos. And we are going to start donut with his little feet. I'm gonna start with orange, make a long roll and squish down the bottom, and then we're gonna start modeling and separating the little three toes, not toes, but you got it. I'm making this video a little fast forward but not jumping any step because it was really long. So I didn't want you guys to need to watch the whole thing like forever, so we're gonna speed just a tiny bit, but I'm gonna show you guys everything. So you start the ball and it's your drop shape. Don't forget to always work it out with the clay to make it warmer so it's easier for you to model and to be the way you want it. And we're gonna make the second one and already jump to start putting it together. I always start with the feet because then it's gonna have a little time to dry, so it's gonna be a little stronger when you start putting the body and the legs and things like that. And I'm using a wood skewer to hold the whole donut up and a little piece of foam to hold it. Cut the excess off. He's not super tall, and I'm already gonna put the position I want. And that's it. I think it's the best way to start. Start already putting the pieces together so you can check sizes, you can check if it's matching, if you're liking it, or all that above. So we put it there, cut the excess if you need it, and I'm already checking the bottom part. But don't worry, I will show you that. It's just because I made it before and the video I edited after, if that makes any sense. I made a little oval for his face, and as you can see, I'm using my ball tool just to mark where the indentation of the eyes are gonna be. His eyes are actually not white. It's kind of really light blue. And at least the pictures I was looking. So I want this head to sit a little bit before I will put the light blue right there. And now I'm gonna show you how to make the little top part of the neck and shoulders. You make a teardrop shape, and then you start squishing the bottom part to make the shoulders, and the middle of the teardrop shape you already get the excess of up to make the neck. If you're using the airlight clay, you can let it dry, and then when we're putting together, cut it. But if you're using cold porcelain and fondant, cut it already before you let it dry, because then you're not going to be able to cut anymore. And now I'm going to show you that little body part. I just made a teardrop shape, a big one, and I'm squishing the top part and putting up to make that little tail, his little butt. And that's what I was showing to measuring if he is in the right place. And I making the body into pieces because I am going to cover with the rope, like the pajamas, so I don't need to do that, and I can save clay and save weight as well. And now I just made a teardrop shape, a little tiny one, and I'm separating in three for that little piece of hair that he has on the middle of his head. And I will auto place right there. Now we are going to start with the white. Don't forget to be sure that your two balls are the same, and we're gonna make his hands the same way that we make Mickey's hands. If you have watched any tutorial on my channel, you cut the V part to separate the thumb and the rest of the fingers. Donald, like Mickey, just have 4 fingers, so I'm just gonna make that straightforward. Cut the other 3, and then we're gonna smooth and rounded everything. And that's why I'm, speeding up a little bit. But Donald, he is holding a clock, and the other finger is on his head. So I am just going to separate the fingers, and then when we set up him together, we're gonna through the video, make more shape of his fingers and how we want him to be holding it. And as you can see, I'm already getting the excess of the clay down for the wrist, and me cutting the other 3 fingers. Get that all smooth, and I'm curving one and leaving one finger up, because that's the hand then he's gonna be, you know, like when you're tired and you kind of don't know what to do, and you so that's the one hand then I want it, and the other hand is gonna be holding the clock. So I am just gonna fold the fingers a little tiny bit because I don't have the clock yet, so I don't know how he's going to need to hold that up, but that's for now what I'm doing with the hands. Now I am going to start with the sleeves of his pajama, just a long teardrop shape. Then I'm flattening the bottom and open up just a tiny bit. And that's it. I am going to use the ball tool to make an indentation where the arms are going to be, like the hand and the wrist, but just to be able to hide it a little bit. And then I'm just gonna make some marks for the fabric to give a little bit more details. We're gonna need 2 of those, so we're gonna go a little faster on the second one. But the same thing, make a hole with the ball indentation, mark the fabric, all that jazz. Now I am just going to make a long snake, and I'm gonna flat that out because I'm starting with that for the clock. I want that to be around it like a frame. So I'm just gonna cut the edges straight so I can wrap around. I made 2 little balls in blue, 2 little balls in white, and I'm squishing them together for the top of the clock. And I will set that aside. A little ball and white, a little ball and blue, squish them together. You know, that old style clock then has those 2 things on top. That's what we are separating them there. And now since I was using the light blue, I mixed with a little white, and I am going to place on the indentation on the face. See, it needs to be flat, so you don't want it to be popping up, you know, because that makes it looks weird. And I'm already putting the toothpick to let it dry. And now we're going to start the clock. I'm just going to make a ball, squish it down, making the sides be a little more flat. And then we are going to get a little blue and do a snake and flat it out. I kind of made that before. I just show you guys, but I thought that I let it dry too much and it wasn't wrapping it as much as I wanted, so I just made it again. But if you're making it, use your snake, you know, your flat part as fast as you make to don't dry. And now I'm putting those 2 little details on top, and I'm gonna make 2 tiny teardrops for the bottom of the clock. Don't forget, you're using your dry clay, then you need to leave everything inside bags, even though you're using the colors, so it doesn't start to dry. And then with the floral wire, I am making a C to put on the top of the clock where he's gonna be holding. I just had it, the green one, but I painted before it was everything dry. So we don't see that, but if I had a white, it would be better. And I'm just plugging it in right there on top of it and leaving a space so you'll not go too low, because the fingers need to go right there and hold it. So now I'm just positioning the fingers the way I want, like to look like he is holding it. So try to use your hand to see what, you know, which finger will be under, which finger will be up, and just try to make him look like he is holding. So I got the thumb and the fingers on top of it. Just like that, and we're gonna let it dry. Now I'm gonna start putting together. I'm just placing a little bit of white to keep that together, to keep the body, centered like that. And that's, I don't worry about it. If he was going to be the normal Donald Duck, then he just have his body. You cannot do that. But since I made it smaller because I'm gonna cover everything and I don't want him to be too fat, I am using less body than I will be using if he wasn't with the pajamas on. And now we just press the body in. You see that I pre-made the holes to don't lose the shape, and then it's right over there. If you're starting right now, you want to wait a little bit more to start making the next steps. It'll be great, but I know we all have busy lives and sometimes we don't have time. So I just mark where the holes are going to be, and I pre-made the holes to be sure that I'm not losing the shape. And we're going to put in place. And again, if you're making the normal donut, then just have his clothes and his little butt out. You cannot make the body this way. And if you want to see it, I have a Donald video. Then he is in a little floaty. But if you want to see the normal regular Donald, just let me know. Just leave a comment and I can make for you guys too. And now with the black, we're going to start putting the details on the eyes. I'm just opening since I had the black. I normally like to do that since I'm using the color and I know that I need. I'm just making the little pieces of the clock. Make one smaller and one a little bigger. And I put a little bow in the center. And now we're gonna flat a piece out and cut in half for his the top of the eyes. And then we're gonna cover his eyelids. And just cover a little piece of the black too to make him look even more sleepy. And now we're going to make a little white snake to go around the eyes to do the finishing. Cut the excess off, push in place. Same thing to the other side. And then we're gonna leave him aside and start making his beak. And then I'm gonna start with the orange, the same orange that I used for his feet. I'm making like a three, like he has a little upside on the middle of the nose. And that is hard to explain what I'm doing. Please watch more than once if you need it. And then always look at the picture, at the Donald Duck picture. So you can, like this orange part in the middle of the eyes go a little up. And then it goes down on the side of the eyes. And then I like to make extra and cut it in shape. So I know then it's wide enough. Then make it and then don't work. And then cut it the width and the length that I need to make fit in the face. And the same thing to the bottom part. I'm gonna make him with the back closed. You can make it a little open and put a little tongue or something like that. But since he's sleepy, he is not in the mood to talk. Mark the center to give the impression that you made it two parts, not just one. And now we're gonna make two teardrop shapes and put it inside and put the excess to the front to make them look like one. Just like that. Use a little water if you need to, flatten out. The same thing on the other side. See, a little water. And then we're gonna place the teardrop shape right there to give the cheeks a little bit of the form and connect to the beak. And his little face is almost done. Here you go. And now we're gonna start cutting his clothes. I'm gonna cut the V where the head and the neck are gonna be, and I'm gonna cut the shape. I'm cutting a little shorter, but wide enough to cover it because I don't want him to look fat, and that's why I made the body as skinny as I could. And then I'm just gonna go over with the tool to look like we made the shirt and sew everything and go around. And then we're gonna place in the front part, and we're making like the same way than we made Mario clothes. You know, you make the top front part and then the back part, and now we're making the back the same time. The same thing we made the front, we're gonna make the back. I'm gonna measure to see what I need for the back, and then cut the excess to don't be super long, and cutting in kind of like a rounded shape so his little butt's gonna appear. The same thing with the tool to look like we made that little clothes, and we're gonna place in the back on the top of his tail. So you want the white to appear there, and we're gonna go all around and fold it to the front to make the finishing, and then we place the front part and cover his little pajama. Squish the sides together and cover the top to make the little, you know, top part. And squish his belly because we want to see that little belly and the tail. So, and now I'm gonna just use the same tool to give the finishing between both sides. Squish, use a little bit of water if you need it to smooth anything out. And now we're gonna make a little pocket. I made a circle, cut the top, and using the same tool to mark, and then we're gonna put a little pocket. And actually in the end, I put a little, like a head of the bear and the two hands out. Then I don't have any video. It's just because I thought it was missing before I gave them away. So I decided to put a bear right there. So you guys can put a bear. If it's a baby shower, can put it I don't know, a baby with a pacifier, whatever you want up there too. And now we're gonna start putting the hands together. I'm gonna use a toothpick and one side, a toothpick at the other side, and then place the finger. I'm using the toothpick because the hand is gonna going up, and I want to give a little bit more of the structure side. And then I'm gonna let it dry with them together, and then we're gonna do the same thing with the hand with the clock. Cut the excess off. I let it dry a little bit. It's not completely dry. It's just the time that I was making him. But I am going to place in place so I can look and see if he's the way I want. And I probably, if I had a time, I will let it dry completely before put it there. But there's a pro and cons and waiting to dry completely is because if you need to fix it, you can't because it's gonna be dry. So I kind of like wait a little bit and then you're still doing it. I cut the diagonal shape there just to fit the arms better, but I'm letting cool off and dry a little bit longer and starting the little head piece for his pajamas. I just made a long teardrop, is flatten out the part of the head and let it, you know, have a long tail right there, and I will place right on his head. Covering it, turn like to look that is coming from the behind his head, and then you can cut the excess off and make as long as you want because we're gonna put a little ball there, so we don't need to worry. You can easily cut. And I'm making some marks for the fabric. And we're going to check if he's in the right place and if he's big enough. You can leave the head there if it's a little bit dry, but if you have time, just leave them to dry separate. But I wanted to know the head and the headpiece before I start putting the hands, so I know that everything is the way I want to look. So the arm's gonna be up with the clock, and then the other arm is going to be, you know, on his head. And now I'm putting a little ball to finish that. And we're almost there, guys. Almost there. I promise. It's a long one. I'm sorry. And now I'm putting the other arm. And he is going to dry. So I never showed this in my video, so I want to show how I place wood skewers and toothpicks and things to dry. I think that's an important part as well, and if you're watching into this part of the video, you deserve to know then yes, you need help to let it dry everything in the place you want. See, it's gonna be like that completely, and you can see the little bear. Then I put it there just for you guys to see. And now he is dry over like a day, probably more than overnight. And I'm using the chalk pastel to give the details. I am going to use a dark orange between the beak to give that indentation and deep side. I'm going to use white on the light reflection ones, and the orange, the dark orange too as well in the middle of his toes. Just take your time, have fun in this part. And now you can really see the bear is just a tiny little thing, just to give a little bit more life and to look like pajamas, because normally you have, you know, like a teddy bear. And now I'm going to use the dark blue just to go over the little folds and marks of his clothes. You can even use paint and make even more details if you guys want it, but I like to use chalk pastel because it gives a little, I don't know, I like the way it looks. Don't forget, guys, I have Mickey, I have so many Disney things on my channel. There's old tutorials that are really good too, so check out my list of videos and go down, and then you can see every Disney ones we have, and you can make the ones for you too. And if you want something in special, then you want to see, I know then somebody asked me for Goofy, I will make a Goofy for you guys. And don't forget also to subscribe if you haven't yet, and share it with your friends and family that likes cakes or clay or polymer clay, cold porcelain. Anybody can follow this tutorial. I just need to adapt the type of material you want to use. So if you have somebody that is really good in cakes but want to learn a little bit more how to make the toppers, my videos are gonna really help them. So you see, then I also give all the colors and the details on the back. Especially this one was a candle for a baby shower. Not a candle, it's a cake topper, and the side was the candle. So every time then you put it on the top of the cake, you're gonna see all around, because people are gonna go around. Every time then you're making a decoration, same thing. The only time then I don't worry about the back is if I'm making like a picture in a picture frame or a sign for a door or things like that. So that's when I don't worry, because you're not gonna see at all. So if you have a chance, then people are gonna see behind the stuff, behind the head, you know, back of the hair, things like that. Give a little time for those too, because it's part of your piece, and of course it's gonna look better if you give that attention to every single side as well. So this is very therapeutic for me. I really like this chalk pastel kind of part. I think it gives such a dimension and life to your piece, and it's so easy and so cool to make. I don't know, it's like you putting a makeup on your piece. I hope you like it. If you're watching into the end, it's like 30 minutes long. I hope you had a snack and you have fun, learn something new. And leave me a comment down below if you liked it, and if you want to see any other Disney ones, or any princess, any candles, if you like more basic stuff, and if you like more you know, not so beginner things, because I know then this is a little scary for a lot of people who think then it's hard, but this tutorial is pretty much explaining everything that you need to know to try to make your own. Just don't forget to print a picture every time then you're making something, because a picture you can use for sizes and things like that, not just to look how it looks, but you can have an idea and how long the arms need to be, how long the, you know, the hand need to be, the face with the body, things like that. I'm using a Sharpie just to mark the 12, 6, 9, and 3 the clock, and then the rest I'm just making a little dot because it's so tiny. You don't need to put all the numbers, but this cute detail is gonna give even more life. And I'm making the little bear eyes because, you know, he deserves it too. And he's pretty much done. You just need to put a base. I actually gonna show you guys this time how I make the base. I just made a circle and I'm using this texture to look like a brick, and I am going to place him right there. He is completely dry when I'm doing that, so I know that he's gonna stand right there. So I use crazy glue actually to do that, and then once it's dry I use the chalk pastel between the bricks to give even more life. Thank you so much for watching this super long tutorial. I hope you guys like it and learned something new, and I talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.